Hi guys, today's movie that you don't hate. Hi guys, I'm Terrence.
I'm Manny.
And welcome to You Don't Hate This Movie. Alright, so today's movie's a doozy. This is one of the... Goodness.
It could be worse.
It's man, every time we do these it gets harder and harder, but today's movie is we got a Transformers movie, and you guys all know that I'm a big Transformers fan. But we got Revenge of the Fallen is a movie today that we're going to be defending. We're going to tell you why you don't hate this movie. As with our normal format, we normally run down the key things with the movie, and we talk about whether we like it or we hate it, and at the end we'll decide if we really don't hate this movie, which hopefully if we do a good job we'll convince you guys of not that you don't. All right, so over to Manny. He's gonna what's our first topic that we're gonna go over?
Well, first of all, this is actually going to be one of the hardest ones. Now,
this is gonna be incredibly hard.
Age of Extinction will probably never show up on You Don't Hate, just like Batman and Robin will never show up on You Don't Hate, because there's just no way in hell that we can defend those movies.
All right, so our whole thing is supposed to be that it doesn't matter the movie. We can tell you why, because I don't believe that anybody really.
There's absolutely nothing about Batman and Robin that I can defend whatsoever.
Batman and Robin was there. That was a good thing. We're not even talking about Batman.
We're not talking about Batman and Robin. All right, so today is Revenge of the Fallen, and I saw it yesterday before yesterday. Not too bad. It was okay, you know. So let the scorecard appear now. All right, T, ready?
Yeah.
So first thing about it is the story.
Okay. So, man. All right. So, okay. So one of the great things about this particular sequel to Transformers is that it wanted to take you outside of, because in the original one they were pretty limited with inside the city. It wanted to expand the borders a little bit and give you more Transformer mythology. So if you're a big Transformers fan, you know that they always have like who invented Transformers. We have the Quintessons and things like that. And even in the comic books they go a little bit further than that and give a little bit more backstory. So the movie wanted to give us something like that. They did the Fallen and these and the Primes, which is a thing in Transformers lore. I mean, there are Primes. There's always been a Prime throughout history for the Transformers, for the Autobots, and they just kind of melded in two different things: the Primes and the Quintessons, as far as the creators of the Transformers. So that was was something different, was something interesting, in some way to bring in the lore, and like I said, it kind of expand the borders a little bit. The rest with the story, please help me with this, because
there's when it comes to the continuity, as far as the first one, it ties in pretty good to it, and like Terrence said, there's a little bit of more of an introduction of that the Transformers were actually here before civilization, really. So,
which is a big tie-in into like the comics and the cartoon. They've always shown that, like, hey, the Transformers crash landed here before we were really even anything that was. I mean, because they crash landed here when the dinosaurs were here. We weren't really anything at that time, so they've been here for a long period of time. So they did a great job at least bringing that aspect into it. So that was one of the things I did like, that I did like about this. They expanded Shia a little bit with his character. I mean,
going to college, and
you know, we had to do something, because I mean, he was in high school at the time, and you know, he had to get older, had a little bit more, and the college thing was something. So it was funny. I'll give it that. It was absolutely funny. It was entertaining.
It was entertaining.
It was entertaining. So I still think the biggest points that I liked about it was the Fallen themselves, in that aspect of the story. I think that was a plus as far as one thing that you should like about the story. The rest of the stuff.
Story, so who gets the point?
Dude, the story was not good.
Hate gets the point. Man, that's a tough. Already starting off bad. All right.
Not good. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying.
Hate's actually going to be up 2-0 right now. One of the things that I didn't like about this movie was actually the kind of like the way they take away from Megatron.
Okay.
When the Fallen does appear, it all they try to copy the rule of two from Superman. Superman?
Yeah.
From Star
There's
Wars.
always two with Superman. There's always two.
From Star Wars.
Good and bad.
So you have the master and apprentice type of thing going on, like the Sith, and that part I really didn't like.
What do you mean with Megatron
and the Fallen, because he says my master and this is my apprentice or something like that. He says so it kind of takes away from Megatron. He's not as ruthless. And now, don't get me wrong, his new transformation, his new being the truck, is a lot better than that. Space. Friggin' thing he was in the first one.
We'll get on that with that part.
Oh yeah, but so as far as the villain is concerned, I'm gonna have to give that one a hate.
Well, see, I didn't have that much a problem with the villain where it seemed what they were going with it. My problem with the villain was they couldn't determine if they wanted it to be Megatron or the Fallen. So if they were gonna go Fallen, Megatron was dead. They could have left Megatron.
They should have just left him.
They could have left him dead, and they could have just said that the Fallen came in to take over the Decepticons and go from that point. Starscream was basically kind of running stuff and getting Megatron brought back to life. They could have just skipped that part and just went straight, like, hey, I'm here, heck, like they did with Transformers the movie. It was like, hey, I'm in charge. Galvatron came and took over. The Fallen could have done that same thing while Starscream was taking over, and kind of just took over the Decepticons at that point. So I don't have a problem with the Fallen as a villain itself. My problem is that they couldn't decide who they wanted to be the villain, and it's like they were like, oh, people know Megatron and they don't know the Fallen, and they didn't want to like not include Megatron because they figured like people would get lost.
I think that if they would have exactly what you just said, but if they would have actually went a route where the Fallen is trying to revive Megatron and had that been part, like pretty much the story part of the story arc.
Why would the Fallen try to revive somebody?
I don't know. That's why they got writers. They can figure that part out. But that whole scene where they revive him, that should have been towards like maybe the middle or towards the end instead of the beginning.
Okay.
I don't know. So that's 2-0 right now. All right. So I think we're gonna get some. We'll bounce back right now. Peter Cullen.
Oh yeah, well,
Peter Cullen was Optimus Prime.
That's been the staple of the actual Transformer movies, is that they know we would riot if they didn't have him voice. So I mean, it's one of those things that they stay true to that. They could have replaced him. They could have had somebody do an impression. We always had the I mean, they didn't give us everybody, but they always at least brought him back, and we always had that comfort, that security blanket with knowing that he will always be Optimus Prime. So the voice acting, I had no problem with it. I mean, we're in the
except
age
the twins.
I mean, oh goodness, we're in the age of animated movies. So I mean, the voice acting's fine. Everybody they brought in, to voice one of the Transformers, they did a good job. There was no bad acting with where you felt kind of taken out of it because it didn't match or something like that. It was always good. Are we including the twins in voice acting?
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool.
That was the only. You know what? We can do that with actors. Yeah, we'll do that with actors. Okay. But right now, let's focus. I want to focus on Peter Cullen. Okay. And now a lot of people give Michael Bay a lot of crap. Okay. Now you included. Exactly. Line starts over here.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? You got to give him credit for the fact that he really searched out Peter Cullen.
Okay.
Now, if they are coming back for Transformers 5 and start shooting this year, actually, if they bring back Frank what's his name? Oh my goodness, Frank Welker?
Yeah,
Frank Welker to be Megatron?
Yeah. Hey, they got him for Platinum Games. They got him back for that. It was like, my whole thing when they brought Hugo Weaving and they had him be Megatron. I was really kind of bothered.
Yeah, that should have been Frank Welker.
It should have, especially because for a minute I thought he died when they brought Hugo Weaving. But when Platinum Games brought him back, and I was like, oh, he's still alive. And so if they do that, but that's another.
And movie. Chris Latta too. If they would have had Chris Latta play Starscream, that would have been awesome.
That'd been great.
That'd been awesome. But you know what? I'm happy at least that they did bring back Prime, and I mean Peter Cullen is Prime, so.
Yeah, I don't think the other Transformers characters, I don't think how they were written, they were integral enough for their voices to have mattered that much anyway. So the only one that we really that was written in any depth was Optimus Prime anyway, and Megatron. somewhat.
And Starscream.
Yeah,
those three. I think those.
I'm saying in this particular. Yeah, so they had.
That's what I mean. If they would have, I think.
But what you're saying is that the voice acting suffered because they didn't bring back the original voice actors.
I'm just talking about preference.
Okay, I mean, obviously we both have the preference for the original voices, but what I'm saying is that in this particular movie, the voice acting didn't suffer because those parts, only the two parts were Megatron and Optimus. We only needed strong voice actors for those. Anyway, everybody else, not that we had a problem with it, their parts weren't big enough to really would have mattered anyway. Most of it's just like, oh, it's a CGI person on screen. Bumblebee talks and beeps and boops in radio ads.
Yeah.
So I mean, what voice acting is really in that? So as long as we had the major part of it, and we had somebody, and who was it, Hugo Weaving again that played? Okay, I wasn't sure if they changed him or not. I mean, Hugo Weaving's already done like V from Vendetta, and where it was just his voice for the most part and stuff like that. So we know he was gonna knock it out of the park. So we didn't have a problem with voice acting. So voice acting was definitely a like.
So like on Peter Cullen?
Yeah.
Like on Peter Cullen. So far, 2-1.
All right. All right. What's the next thing?
The next thing is the effects.
Okay. Well, all right. Michael Bay does effects.
The effects were awesome.
Michael Bay does effects. That's his thing. He makes spectacles. He makes these big, over the top, explosions, action scenes. Sometimes they can get frantic and like frenzied all over the place, but you can never say that like, oh, it was boring, it was dull. He's gonna have you on the edge of your seat. He's gonna have a whole bunch of things. It's like, buildings falling, explosions going off. He's gonna have Megan Fox. She's an effect. He's gonna have Megan Fox in something tight running across it. And Michael Bay, I love you for this. And he'll have her running across the screen, in the desert, and she's still gonna look hot.
Well, that would be the action sequences. But as far as the effects, the transformation.
Oh, as far as with the Transformers.
Yeah, the Transformers themselves, and I mean the whole beginning. I mean that's one thing that I like about the movie is that it started right then and there when it was in Japan or Hong Kong, wherever it was, and they started from the get go, and the introduction of. That weird ass rolling thing when it the
oh robot.
When Ness went in there and they went after that thing and then and then Optimus came out of the jet and had that whole sequence, those visuals were freaking amazing.
Outside of some preferences as far as Generation 1 designs and the whole live action look of it, you always have to say, okay, it's not going to be exactly what I had before, but they gave us enough of a representation with Transformers to say that, okay, I recognize that as a Transformer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they didn't leave me lacking on that. Yes, they were good. They looked good and they looked pretty. So, I mean,
but the transformation.
Yeah,
that was awesome. So I'm gonna give that one to like.
All right, so that's a like.
That's a like.
All right. So what's next on the list?
The next one on the list is the actors.
The actors. Okay, so.
Shia was good. The only thing I didn't like about Shia was the whole when he was doing all this, getting all the.
Blame that on the script writing.
but I love Shia in that movie. He was actually pretty good.
Shia has always been funny. As a matter of fact, Shia was one of the reasons in the original movie that I was able to really embrace that one. So I mean, carrying him over to this one, he was basically the same character, a little bit older, a little bit more advanced, and they did a little weird thing with him having to oversell that whole mind thing with the little fragment, but he did a good job. It was like I don't want to have people have so much pushback with Shia. Shia's okay with me in Transformers.
Yeah,
Mark Wahlberg is not okay with me in Transformers.
No, not at all.
Shia's
Boogie Nights.
All right. Who else was it? That's when we got. That sometimes happens here. We also got Tyrese back. It transformed to a piece of rubble down there. We got Tyrese back, and Tyrese always brings that kind of like the comic relief. Yeah. We got him back. Like I was just going on for hours and hours on Megan Fox. So, I mean, she's not the best actor, but she's really nice to look at. And in my book, that's enough to get a plus.
I like Turturro. I like John Turturro in that one.
Yeah, that's right. I almost forgot about his part. Yeah,
pretty good. Good. And I did have some reservations on the parents. The parents were a little out there. The dad, not so much, but the mom was a little too much out there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if they were trying to make her
the comic relief or the bigger comic relief?
Obviously, they were trying to make her the comic relief, but it seems like they were really trying to make her a bigger character in the Transformer universe. And they were like, they liked her in the original one. Let's make her bigger. And and I'm not sure if that the way it came off with her was her acting, or is this they tried to do too much.
They just try to do too much.
Okay,
but
so that's fine then. As far as the cast went and the actors, I was fine with it.
yeah, Jamel too. Josh Jamel, he's always done good work when it comes to the Transformers. There's some pretty good scenes that he did in the first one, and in this one he was just as good. So I'll give the point to the actors on this one.
Okay, I'm good with that. Stop hating on Shia. Stop hating on Shia.
All right, now we can get into the action sequences.
Okay.
Now, like I said before, the intro was amazing. One of the things that has always been the knock on Transformers is that Michael Bay goes a little too close to the fighting, and you can't see what the hell's going on.
Right.
But in this particular case, especially when they're in the forest, he pans back a lot.
Yeah, so you can see
and you can see exactly what's going on, and that was some pretty good sequences there.
Yeah.
When they was in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they go to Egypt, and I'm not a big fan of the Devastator that they had, especially with the 2 wrecking balls and all that. But the fact that that the Constructicons came out, and the whole thing, that whole scene, that's some good action sequences.
Yeah.
I gotta give them credit when the credit is due on that.
I assume we're covering the Devastator under threat. So anyway, but the action scenes, like I was saying before, it was like with the explosions and keeping you on the edge of your seat. He always does that. I mean, it's like Michael Bay is known for that. If there is going to be an action movie and you put Michael Bay in front of it, you will never have to question and say that, will this have great action scenes? Michael Bay will always deliver on that, and he delivered in this movie. He delivered us, like you said, that the scene with Optimus going through the forest, having to take on that fight by himself. The Devastator scene, not so much the Devastator scene, but just the whole Egypt fight before we got the Devastator. Before we had the Devastator was really intense. They had that whole Michael Bay moment inside that little bunker, the kind of Bad Boys moment when they kind of circle around and stuff like that. That's awesome, and then that's a Michael Bay trait. And I was like, I love that. When I saw it, I was like, oh, it's Bad Boys in Transformers. This is like a wet dream for me that I've always wanted.
Okay. That's the first one you don't hate, besides this Falling.
Exactly.
Revenge of the Fallen. Forget it.
But like I said, the action scenes were great. That's not what people have problems with in Transformer movies. But I'm good with it. I love the action scenes in it. So we're going to give the action scenes a...
Well, another one was the whole Megatron thing. The whole thing with Megatron was an awesome scene with the battleship, and that was that one, right? The battleship and all that. That was a Revenge. Yeah. So that was actually pretty good scene. So yes, definitely, I'm giving the action sequences a plus there. Okay, and the final one is the music.
Okay.
I really like that score. They kept up to, because I don't think that they used that score in Age of Extinction. But they kept up with it in the original trilogy, and they had it on this one, and I thought the Transformers score itself is really awesome, and yeah, so I like the music on it.
Okay. So my thing with music is that you have to have songs for me to where I walk out and associate a song to the movie. Like we said, when we talked about Godzilla last week or week before last time we had the show and we talked about Godzilla, we remembered the "Come With Me" song from Star Wars Episode 1. You remember Duel of Fates. So I didn't have a song. I walked out of the movie saying like, oh, that was a Revenge of the Fallen Transformer movie song.
But you know the themes of Transformers, don't you?
But I don't give that to Revenge of the Fallen. I give that to the cartoon. It was like, hey, you didn't, Mike, no.
So would you have rather prefer that they did the More Than Meets the Eye?
I would have preferred they did More Than Meets the Eye. I was like, we want to call this one a push then? Because I don't, there was no music I had, it was memorable to me.
Now, we usually end the show with...
Wait, we didn't talk about the threats.
Well, we didn't talk about the threats. But I was going to, well, that's what I was going to say, actually.
Okay.
Now, normally we actually end the show with the positives. Unfortunately, we're going to end the show with a negative on this because the threats involved were questionable at best.
Right.
Now, you had the Fallen. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, Fallen was cool. I was okay with the Fallen. It melded some characters, but I was okay with the Fallen.
Devastator.
Hated Devastator.
I couldn't stand Devastator.
I would have preferred, as much as I wanted Devastator, and when they teased it with the little construction vehicles and were like, oh man, we're gonna get Devastator, we're gonna get it. And then they showed me Devastator and I was like, oh, you should have kept that. You should have kept that.
That was awful. I mean, that might as well have been Ravage.
Oh God, man. They did a better Ravage.
They did a better Ravage.
They did a better Laserbeak. They did a better Soundwave, even the Soundwave as a satellite.
Yeah.
And then bringing Megatron back, I thought was kind of weak. I thought they shouldn't have brought Megatron back.
The scene was awesome though.
I know it was cool. And it was like, and then it kind of left us to where the point where it's like, if they could bring Megatron back, how couldn't? I mean, why? They brought Megatron back so easily, and then we had to go a whole movie to get Prime back. I mean, they was like the 10 minutes into the movie, Megatron was back, and it was like we had to wait a whole movie for Prime. Come on, man. All right, so the threats were weak, so I mean that's gonna go on hate.
Well, here's one more. Now, one of the biggest things that I've had a problem with this movie was the human, the transformer, the robot that could be a human, the girl in college that tries to seduce.
Okay, Shia. So that's
when the hell do Transformers turn into a female?
It's not like in the TV shows and stuff like that, but they came out with a toy. It was called a Pretender, and and it's humans that, I mean, it was robots that transformed into humans, and then they expanded a little bit on it in the comic books. But it was never like in any of the because they canceled the TV show long.
Please tell the viewers.
It was never in a TV show. The TV show was canceled long before that. But it is actual part of Transformers lore, even though it seemed like they pulled that one out of nowhere just to do something different. It actually is part of Transformers.
This was the first. I did not know that.
Yes, you can look it up, and I'll post something where you can see it. But yes, this is a Transformer thing because when they first did it, I was like, what? And then I went and looked it up, and there's actual toys out that they sold, and they didn't make it for the movie. There was toys out back then, and it was after the TV show died, where they were just trying to do stuff to keep the Transformer name alive, and they were just coming out with new things and stuff like that. I mean, heck, in the cartoon, we had Target Masters when we had people turn into guns, and we had Headmasters and then people turned into...
That's right. Yeah,
I mean, so this is not a weird thing for Transformers, and it was shocking for people who didn't really keep up with Transformer lore after the TV show happened. So it was a reach, and they kind of should explain it a little bit better in the movie too. But I mean, it was actually something. So we can't hate too much on it because they didn't make it up, and it was... that if you want to say it's stupid, blame Transformers because it was a stupid idea for Transformers. But
what would do you think that it would be a good idea for Transformers 5 to just be a straight up remake of 85?
I would love that
because one, everybody's saying that it's Optimus's last movie, and I know we're going off subject. I apologize, but he died in 85, so. Ultra Magnus can come in then, and then
Hot Rod,
and then you bring, you get Hot Rod, and Judd Nelson comes back. Judd Nelson comes back to voice Hot Rod.
Can we get Lion to do the soundtrack?
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I don't want to end on a bad note with this. It was because there was a lot of things about this movie that you really like. We kind of glossed over the major issue with it.
And what was that?
It was with the twins.
Okay, the twins. Now that would have gone under. Well, no, I guess that would have gone under characters. But
characters. We glossed over it. I didn't like.
Why don't you try that? Why don't you go ahead and voice your opinion on that straight up?
I'm going to address it. Like I said, every time we do one of these, I don't want to make it seem like we're just fanboying out and we're just going to talk about the good stuff about it. We will bring up the stuff that people have problems with. I did it in episode 1. We did it in Green Lantern. We did it in everything. I'm not going to let anything go. So in this movie, the thing that people really, really hated about this movie was the twins.
I didn't like it.
They were racist stereotypes.
Yeah.
But there is no really way to defend them, but that's just on Michael Bay.
It was strictly like a poor attempt at comic relief.
It was, and he was just he was like, oh, I'm gonna throw some street characters.
Try to be hip.
I didn't want to say he was gonna throw black people in it, but he was gonna throw some street characters in there, and it just totally went off the rails. And that's definitely a dislike on it.
Definitely, but the RC.
But they brought in RC and Sideswipe, and those were all great characters. So overall for characters, that still gets a like. I mean, if we're looking at that as a whole with the characters, that's still a like versus it being a hate because the majority of the characters they had in there outside of those two were still good characters. They even got his Jetfire.
That's true. They gave us Jetfire.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exactly the Jetfire that I remember, but it's okay.
Which, by the way, I'm going to look it up and I'm going to put it down here. I always had a problem. Was it Jetfire or Skyfire?
I remember it as Skyfire.
It's Skyfire, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I think it.
But I think there's like alternates. where
Yeah,
it
I
was
think there was a
Jetfire.
Jetfire and Skyfire, and I think Transformers kind of messed us up on that. Now that was always one thing, and so I'm gonna look it up and put it in here. You'll see it. So I'm just rambling on, and the answer's probably already there.
We'll see. We'll see if we ever get Omega Supreme. That'll be or
That would
Bruticus. That would be awesome.
if they reboot it and they actually try to go that route, that'd be awesome. But anything
So
else?
no, that's it. So the score is 5-4.
It was a close one again.
It was a close
That's
one.
a close one again. But that means you guys really don't hate this.
You
movie.
don't hate this movie.
No.
Terrence, take us home.
All right, so like we always say before in our videos, it's like make sure you like and subscribe so that way you know about things that are going on with new videos that we upload. Even if you guys follow the ones that we have currently on our playlist, we're still thinking of new shows to kind of put out there. So please subscribe so that way you know about new things that come out, and it's just kind of part of our community. Make sure you comment, let us know how much you like this movie or how much you didn't like this movie, which we'll probably get a lot of. But at least recognize the things that are good about this movie, because this movie does have some redeeming factors, not a lot, but it does have enough to where, like we say, you don't hate this movie. So for Manny, I'm Terrence.
See you next time.
See you next time.
3, scene 5, take 1. Action.
Hi guys, today's movie that you don't hate.
Wait for it. Action.
Hi guys, I'm